in the hospital
Yes.
there. Did you see him at the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to see him because he was my commanding officer.
Sure, yeah. Alright, now, the war's finished. When did you meet Daphne?
Two days before we were married, I suppose. That's a joke.
Yeah, that's alright, that's acceptable. What year were you married?
The same year, I think.
1946.
Mm.
Yeah. Where did you meet her?
In Hollywood camp. Hollywood Hospital.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Look, I think maybe I should ask her, don't you?
Oh yes, she was ministering after the angel. After the
Okay, I'll just turn this off while we just change the centre of attention. We're away. Now, Daphne, thank you. I know we blackmailed you to get you into the chair.
Have.
But now, let's tell us a little bit about your service history.
Well, I joined the army in South Australia, and I went in on Friday to join up, and by Monday night I was in Victoria doing rookie training, and then I served time back in South Australia at the big base hospital there, 105 I think it was, but I wouldn't be sure about the number. And then I was transferred to a camp hospital at Largs Bay, and from there we were told that we were going to be broken up, and we came to Western Australia to form a new general hospital, the 125, and we were based at Merredin. First of all, we arrived at Karrakatta with no luggage that had been carried on, and we only had a small overnight bag. And we were put into a tent at Karrakatta, and some cats came in during the night, and one of the girls threw a shoe at it. And then we were shipped back to Northam, and we were in a camp hospital there for a time before going on to Merredin to form this new hospital.
That was a fairly big one, wasn't it, up in Merredin?
Well, no, that was the second first that were there before us, and we were to form a new one. And they weren't expecting us. There were 5 of us from South Australia. And we eventually got to the camp hospital, and we put to sleep in the theatre for that night. And then we were transferred to the tents the next day, and it was some time before other groups came to join. But it was there when the Italy surrendered while we were there, and that hospital was never formed. We were scattered. Some of the girls came down to Hollywood Hospital, and I was sent to Northam for a time. I didn't like being separated from my mates, but we were there for quite some time, and eventually I did transfer to Hollywood Hospital.
Now, you didn't tell us what date you enlisted, do you recall?
In January 43.
And what did you enlist into? What was it called?
The Australian Army Medical Women's Service.
Yes. Yeah.
And 12 months later I joined the AIF, having got my father's signature to do so because I wasn't 21. And then I was at Hollywood Hospital for quite a long time.
Yeah, was there a Sister Mummery there?
Yes, I was working in her ward actually.
Commonly called Mum?
She was Mummery and everyone was scared of her.
Yeah.
The patients in particular.
She trained me at one stage. Very
Did
good.
she?
Yeah. But we thought she was marvellous.
Yes, oh, she was a very good matron.
But we knew that she was an ex Second World War nurse. Yeah. So now let's go forward now to Do you remember the day when the peace was declared?
Oh, definitely. Actually, there was we were at a concert the night, and there'd been a particularly good program on, and everyone was cheering and wanting an encore. And the officer came out on stage, and he said, "I've got some good news," and we just said, "Oh yes, we're going to get the same." And he said, "The war is over," and that hall emptied so quickly. There was no one left in it, so the concert was abandoned then.
Yeah.
But the actual day didn't come until 2 days later.
Yes. Yeah.
And the peace was declared, and I was on leave that day, so it was a pretty good day.
Yeah. So how did you meet John Henry
Well,
Schurmann?
he was a patient in the ward.
Was he?
Yes. Yes.
Do you remember which ward it was?
Number 10, wasn't it? In Ward 10.
Yes.
And I used to be making the mead drinks and dishing up the meals and all that sort of thing. And
now, about what date was this?
actually, I can't recall the date at all.
The month?
It was probably December sometime.
December 45?
Yes.
Yeah. And what sort of condition was he in?
He was, well, improving then.
Yes.
But I can remember he was having treatment, and I went in, I just can't recall what was said, but he was pretty hungry and waiting for his breakfast at that time, because it was later than the usual breakfast.
Yes.
And eventually he asked me to go out, and we went to the beach one day, and that was it.
So what was your rank?
A big part.
What was your rank?
Rank?
Yes.
Private. I never got past private.
So...
But TG 1.
Yes.
Yes.
So if the sergeant said you had to go to the beach with him, you had to go to the beach with him?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And so when was your wedding?
Well, I went back to South Australia on leave.
Yes.
And then I had to wait for discharge papers to come through, which was very, very slow. And eventually I got back to Perth, and we were married on June the 15th in 46.
Oh, well, just before he was discharged, actually. Oh no, just after.
No,
April,
just after
April
he was
46.
discharged.
Yeah.
I was still in the army at that stage.
Yes.
And I didn't get my discharge until
When
just after that.
Now this is interesting, when you travel to and from South Australia, how'd you go, by train or?
By train, yes. There's one rather funny incident when we were coming back on my last trip. One of the girls had been overseas, and she was contemplating marrying, and she had even nappies in her cases apparently.
Oh yes.
She was getting ready, and she didn't like the goats. We used to have our meals out on the ground. The train was stopped, and she went and got up in the train, and one of the fellows picked up a goat and put in behind her, and it raced. She came out the other end of the carriage.